Hello people, and welcome back to part 6 of Noveria, our Cities Skylines snow build. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. And thank you so much for all the kind comments, suggestions and support on the last episode. You guys really enjoyed my oil refinery build. And it's working quite nicely now, things coming together. The unique factories are making us a ton of money. Getting 8 grand out of the petroleum refinery. Household plastics is making a ton. And the oil area itself is making a nice tasty little profit. So yeah, really happy with this, super cute. You guys did catch me out. I implemented some security gate vibes over here with the toll booth, and then immediately ignored those vibes with a very simple on and off ramp onto the highway. So thank you for pointing that out. I think what we'll do is, yeah, we definitely need a toll booth here. So we'll upgrade this road into toll booth, and then feed out maybe a fatter arterial that's going to feed into the eventual ore area here. But for right now, until we develop this side of the area further, it'll do. It'll do alright. However, what I want to do today, no kind of major serious builds. We're going to do lots of suburban detail and expansion, because we really need to start smashing through some population milestones. And the next one that we unlock is going to give us metro, which will be really exciting, also IT cluster, and the first university area. And some intercity buses as well. Lots of new policies, and of course high density, which is always exciting to play with. So we have one more tile to pop, and I think I'm going to pop this one right here to the right of the Arutha River Gardens. And this should give us quite a nice time. So I've been messing about off camera here with some road expansion, and I think we're going to bring a regular 4-lane arterial down. And possibly upgrade this into some kind of fancier junction once the main road continues down that way into some more rural vibes, but we'll see. And then I'm just going to start upgrading this into nice chunkier roads. Bring onto this road guideline as well. And then this is where I want to now cross over the river with some nice American truss bridge, which I think is definitely a new favourite on the channel, isn't it? So we'll terraform out this layer. So a very similar concept for what we ran in the starting suburb in Palawan, having this as a high-speed two-way road that flanks around the suburb up until a point. We'll take this back to where it joins in. And I just need to make this just a regular road. There we go. Yeah, so we'll kind of keep this running along the river and just provide several access points into it, which should hopefully keep people moving a little bit faster around the town, but we'll see how that turns out, of course. So, of course, we're going to grab some American Truss Bridge action, because we are a huge fan of this at the minute. We'll come out by 10. We'll just make sure we're looking fairly sensible. It actually doesn't look like we'll have enough room to clear that. Yeah, it is actually already occupied, so let's redraw that in. Let's try and go for... Okay, we just want to be snapping to grid or road length and angle for this, I think. And then we'll come out there. I think that should be okay. We can always terraform around that if needed. And then we'll just stick in increments of 11 as we move across the water. Again, just a huge fan of this new bridge. Really is lovely. We'll bring the bridge down. Let's also get rid of some of these trees as well, so we're not burning through that tree count. Place our own trees, of course. Okay, and then let's maybe come out with a curved road. And then if we curve by 10, and then come out, and then that's going to start introducing some higher looking, or higher density looking infrastructure anyway. It looks like there's a slight dip in the bridge there, is there? No, it looks pretty level, I think, doesn't it? I think it does. Okay. But again, rather than just keeping our road straight, let's now start to maybe introduce a little freeform action. Possibly here, and then we'll tether a roundabout onto the end of this. And there's lots of decoration opportunities around the base of this bridge too. Now, before we kind of start expanding new population and developing a new suburb, we can just have a little look back at our initial residential zonings and see that a lot of them haven't hit max level yet. Which is fine, you know, it's a process and they are on their way, but there's possibly something we can do to help them on the way a little further. Just by increasing the land value with parks and plazas and whatnot. And we can see that there's a little pocket of residentials here that don't have many parks near them. So we can start placing some to help them level up. We've also got a nice bit of dead space here along the highway too, so I think we'll drop in a couple of large playgrounds. Maybe leaving 3 tiles either side. And then we can just link these together with some nice vanilla gravel path. I really wish there was more assets that integrated with the kind of together, like you can extend out the back of them. There's only a few, but maybe in Cities too. And how about dog park in here as well? I think we can get on board with that. Let's bring these pathways through, and likewise with this one too. And then these extra park assets. And then these extra park assets are going to help increase our population as well. So let's go ahead and expand out the tree palette in these. I think it's just these ones, isn't it? Here it is. Just so it looks like they don't have that very harsh border against them. And then we can introduce our own tree designs too, just so it's not quite as harsh. Let's possibly bring in a little bit of conifer action as well. Just here and there, nothing too serious. And possible invasive Palavan pine also. And maybe a little bit of overgrowth, just to add a slightest change in texture to that relentless snow. Okay. So that's going to fill out that space we had up against the highway, help blend in this kind of very harsh 90-degree bend in the road a little better as well. But that's going to increase everyone's land value and happiness in the area. Keep everyone going. And we'll hopefully see all these level up. Yeah, here we go now. You can just kind of see people popping up to their next levels with that little influx of park happiness. Very nice. Okay, so let's start discussing some possible designs for what I've got in mind for this. So I think we're going to just develop a new suburb to get that population up and have it as a riverside suburb. But there's a few things I want to factor in as well. So we do unlock metro in the next milestone, which we certainly will use. We'll probably have a station here and kind of turn the town centre into a mini transport hub. And then run it as an elevated metro line through this suburb. But we can't use a lot of the new content creator packs until 11,000 population, but we can always come back and upgrade. It's no serious problem. Okay, so we'll kind of leave this as a general start, and we'll just remind ourselves that we want to eventually expand out of this way in a couple of different locations. So I think what I want to discuss first is the keys in the area. So I'm very happy to keep using the new walkable seawall keys. And we'll get into maybe some of the double-tiered stuff over towards the coastline, not out here where the river's fairly shallow. So running the keys in a very kind of straight, rigid pattern like this is really going to take a lot of the curvature out of the river, which does change the bird's eye views quite significantly. You can kind of see how it affects the way the river looks on this side where we've already got the keys in. So I think I'm happy for that to maintain. And as we move down into the valleys into some more rural builds, we will maybe switch up into kind of some more curvier river vibes. Okay, so I'm just running with my road guideline in these very long, straight, rigid sections. It's really easy to place keys on this river. Thank you so much, Eggsy. It's for some wonderful terraforming that the lad's done. And again, there's opportunities for walking paths back into to either side of the river now as well, which will be very exciting. And let's also do just a touch of terraforming just to bring this shoreline back in. It's using our level terrain. And then we should be able to bring this down now as well. Cool. And then we'll probably continue here. I imagine let's maybe come on our freeform tool. Then we'll bring this down as far as we can, grab a touch of freeform. There, I think that's slightly more acceptable, isn't it? I think I'm happy with that. And again, we can just continue to remove this forest and add our own in. Don't want to be eating too much into that tree count. Get some nice train action in here today as well. So I don't want this arterial to run parallel with the key for the whole way. We'll develop a lot of our suburban ideas around here. I guess we can, we can link these together now, can't we? We can just squeeze through, although this probably won't be the final road network down this side. but we'll have a little play anyway. So I'm envisioning Noveria's downtown skyline will kind of sit within this space here. This is where we'll do a lot of our downtown road network stuff within this big landmass. So it's important that we allow the road network to develop into that as well. But it's a while away yet, so we'll just see how things go today. But no, I don't just want this to be one straight road. Let's maybe start to introduce a couple of little curved pieces into this section too. So I think I'm really feeling running with the more of moderation as kind of the focal point for this kind of front suburb here, okay? So let's have a little look at how we can possibly implement this. Let's first of all have a look at the asset. So I think we can definitely run with this as the centerpiece asset, right? It's going to be a nice one. So let's draw out a couple little road markers as to where the asset ends, just so we know where we're going to place it. And then we'll see what we can do to introduce a little bit of Green Cities car parking around here, and hopefully we are at the right measurements to get this to sit. No, we're not. That's fine though. There's a way around this. So if you're trying to focus an asset that doesn't sit within kind of a centralized orientation, there's a way that we can kind of adapt to this scenario. So we can throw in a couple of 2x2s either side and then run with the 3x2 one in the middle. So that's going to help us to place our asset a little more effectively. So it's a slight change in the pattern. We're using multiple different car parks in order to get these to fit in, but I don't mind that little break in the pattern. It's actually not a bad little design, I think. Works nicely with the little veranda that sits outside the mall as well. Yeah, not bad. I think that's alright. I think that's okay. Okay, so now just begin to kind of fan out these roads and snapping them into the road guidelines with the keys. Again, until we reach our arterial, and then we can feed them back in. Okay, so I think there's a nice focal point alongside the river here. This is going to serve as a nice focal point. Just exactly that, right? Okay, so I think we're going to upgrade these into just regular roads. Don't want the grass here. At least not on the roads outside of the mall. So now I'm just thinking what I want to actually back onto the mall, and I'm thinking maybe a couple of little small parks. It would be a sensible shout here. So let's double check our measurement there. We're at 240. So we'll bring that out from here as well. Trim that up. And let's have a look at these small park orientations, because this is quite a loud building, I think, isn't it? Yeah, so we don't want suburbs immediately behind this little one here. Let's have a look at what we can do. Okay, so we can possibly place in one here, alright? And then let's possibly have a discussion without our road guidelines on as to what zonings we can generate here. So there's options for 3x3 stuff to happen, which I think we'll do. We'll just fill out with some really basic commercial zoning and just see what grows organically. We might refine with plot the growables, but I guess we'll see. And then I just want to start feeding a couple of little connections back into the arterial roads now. And then we can start to develop our suburban designs within these spaces here. So I think I'm going to start coming out with my freeform tool, using our road with trees. And then just start developing with some really gentle curves. Some cute circular suburban patterns. Now I know for a lot of Noveria I've spoken about specifically zoning and kind of generating those larger zonable squares, but for the look that I want here, I'm not particularly bothered about that. So again, we're just going to keep coming with our freeform, snap into the angle. Okay, bring this one along here too. Like that. So I am still going to stick to my specific zoning techniques, because I don't really want shapes like this developing, okay? Because this will really shatter the look. But I'm happy for kind of 2x2s, 3x4s, 2x3s, all these kind of different longer shapes to develop in. It's not going to be quite as uniform, but it's certainly a look we can make work as well. So we'll just keep them coming in. And hopefully we can unlock some metro and high density today as well, which we can definitely use in the build. So all these really basic shapes. Of course, if you don't have the patience for this, just go ahead and mass zone everything. Just be careful not to do too much at once so you don't get those heavy death waves. And I think a nice little run of shallow zoning here will be fine. And get a nice big batch in alongside there as well. Okay, so let's see what's growing up here. Got a couple of the university content creator assets in. I really like the Fry Guys stuff too. So I think we'll keep that in. And then where we have our spaces, of course, we can snap in with some classic rock garden detailing. To bring through a touch of nature reserve fence as well, perhaps. I don't think I'm totally adverse to that. And then how about a couple of smaller delicate trees, maybe a little sugar maple pattern in here. And some smaller bushes as well. Just really simple stuff. Okay, yeah, but this is the vibe I'm after. Quite a nice looking suburb, lots of windy streets, kind of really breaking away from that grid. Which the freeform tool is really helpful for doing. We can also trim off these roads here now as well. It'll almost make like a little bit of a food court to sit around, which we can use plot the growables for to help generate some of these Fry Guy assets in. Which if you are missing these like little fast food ones there, they come with the university content creator pack. So let's have a quick scan through plop the growables and see what we think. So there's a nice little deli queen one here. Catfish is also a good shout as well. Can maybe even back a couple of Fry Guys onto each other here if we wanted to. Maybe another one, maybe like a little Fry Guys super block if we wanted to. Maybe it's too many Fry Guy assets. So it's kind of like a bigger restaurant or chain. I don't think I'm adverse to it. I don't think it's horrible. Maybe let's switch this one around though. Knock it onto this side. So what's the zonings we're playing with there? Say 2x or a 3x2. And then 1x3 to get those to sit in without plot the growables. And where we have our larger empty spaces. Perfect opportunity for a little conifer. Alright. Starting to see some people arrive here now too. Very nice indeed. So I often see in my comment sections as well as kind of other comments on Cities Skylines videos is people have a lot of trouble breaking away from the grid. And generally don't tend to be massive fans of the grid design because it can become quite boring and repetitive when it's used all the time. And I guess my kind of tip for this would be to just use the freeform tool without the road guideline. And then with that you can just start to generate some much more organic patterns, keep your measurements small, and just keep everyone kind of flowing in a nice sensible direction. Don't get kind of too crazy with the curves and the designs. Then once you've kind of got that down and playing with that freeform tool, you'll just end up with a much more organic looking suburb. And of course, mapping tools are always a tremendous help with this as well. Google Maps, Google Earth, whichever one you use, whether it's Bing or whatever, you know, they can all just help contribute to a much more organic real life design if that's what you're after. So I guess breaking away from the grid, road guideline off, and freeform tool is kind of my go-to, I suppose. So we're getting a big old chunk of commercial demand in a minute as well, so I think we'll continue to expand these little path designs out of these parkways here. and then start to complement them with some larger commercial zonings. Want to keep these spaces next to them all free ideally, but we'll see how it goes. I've also zoned up these sides as well, which we will allow to level up. I'm not a huge fan of the level 1 buildings, but we'll see how they go for the time being, okay? And maybe a little shallow patch of commercial along here as well, but saving some space for some pathways to come through, of course, so we can introduce a little bit of a green belt palette for the area. But a nice big commercial focus all around the mall of moderation. We're also going to want some services over here as well. So let's introduce a fire station somewhere, I think. Possibly on this corner right here. And then a police station too. I think maybe towards the waterfront a police station might work nicely. How about there? Now I do want a pathway to carry people over here. So let's have a little discussion about this, shall we? Let's come with our American pedestrian bridge. We'll bring it down onto our lowest elevation. We also want to come off road length. Now I'm wondering if we just come up here, can we just cross over? Yes, we can. Let's see how we feel about this aesthetic before we do it. So it'll snap into the road there. We'll need to remove the park fence, which is fine. But then I think we can just get a nice clean run all the way across. When it comes to road length while we're over the water as well. Let's just leave the game on 3 speed for a hot minute here and see if anyone actually picks this up as an option across. I'm sure they will. Yeah, there we go. Here they come. So that's going to be nice to see. Oh, gross. We need to be not having these assets come in. We'll refine those. Don't mind the central hotel asset. It's very pink in the snow, isn't it? I don't remember it looking like that in Palawan. I like this as well. I really like the Fry Guy assets. This is, episode is sponsored by Fry Guys, everyone. Okay, yeah. So pathways are going to be our best friend. Everyone's going to enjoy a little bit of pathway action. But I do think I want it centered with the mall of moderation, which will bring us back to this point here, which isn't too bad. Yeah, look at that pathway now. There's going to be some really nice opportunities for part live cheeses back and two across this river as we keep introducing these walkways. Yeah, okay. I'm going to centralise this with the mall then, and then we'll see just how much use it actually gets. Okay. So I have everything all lined up now. A nice little central walkway to flow over to the mall here. And just redesign our pathways so people can still get back and to from the keys. Yeah, I think that's a much more pleasing design, isn't it? They're just going to help alleviate the traffic alongside the roads as well. Very nice indeed. So again, just continuing to talk about providing services for our Sims here. These guys do want a bunch of elementary school education, so we'll provide another one here. And of course partner it with maybe a small playground too. Just delete these historical buildings. Allow that zoning to come back in. Alright. Very nice. Should be okay for education now, I think. Yeah, need lots of university, but we probably start work on the campus fairly soon, I think. I think it's the next milestone we unlock it, isn't it? Let's also start dropping in some of the healthcare centres for the elders and the children. So we've got a child healthcare centre over here. And again, his radius is kind of covering the vast majority of this suburb, so possibly get one in over here as well, and then maybe another one here. So let's have a look at that design. Let's bring out our little roads here, and we'll probably bring onto Anglin road length. And then pop this here. Let's go for Child Healthcare Centre. And then I want the carousel park to sit behind this, I think. Yeah, I think I do. So let's bring it out up until there. That should fit nice and snug. Very nice. Let's also bring our water pipes out too. We are starting to run out of the stock pipes now, so we'll begin to bring them along the road. Okay, and then I don't think it would be totally out of the question to include the elder care along here as well. Okay, and then we could even partner the elder care with the med clinic. Alright. It's not kind of a joke at the old people that they need the med clinic right next door, but I just think the assets work nicely together. Alright, okay. Very nice. Now, likewise with Palaven, I also want to allow the road network to continue to move towards that very heavy downtown setting. So I think what I'm going to do is bring out a nice straight stretch of arterial, which again will be one of our primary kind of downtown veins. As we, you just kind of see the road network expanding, it'll kind of flow straight the way through and into the downtown. Likewise with this one as well, we'll bring it out here and, converge them all together alongside bringing the highway through the downtown as well. So just drawing in these arterials as a reminder that, okay, this one wants to be a nice big straight run down into that downtown. I think that's going to be okay. And then again, what that also allows us to do is now we've kind of got this next framing, we can continue to come out with our road length and freeform tool using our treed roads and develop our curvier, more organic looking suburbs. Keep taking it off and then find a place to come through and link it together. Let's also maybe come back through here as well. Guess it makes sense to hook it into there. But during our detailing, we'll definitely kind of box this off as a separate kind of service and commercial area. Or not commercial, just service, isn't it? Okay, switch back up into this one as well, provide another connection to the arterial here as well. Just to kind of see, freeform, road length and angle really are best friends for developing more natural looking suburbs. Possibly feed this one to this area too, it's come out from this side first. And then also just some little dead end cul-de-sacs as well, not everything has to link back up. So nice little ways of breaking out the grid. Again, if you guys have any of your own kind of suggestions and ideas of how you break away from that very rigid residential formatting, feel free to throw it in the comments so I can read it alongside others as well. I don't think that's too bad look, isn't it? It's certainly got a much more interesting looking suburb now. Okay, but we're quickly moving towards this next population centre here, and I do want to save room as well for that metro line to flow through the area, although I do want to elevate it up onto its own banking. So let's see what we can do about that. Let's come down onto probably to about there. So there's a way we can test this. Let's come down to our smallest elevation. And that's going to be the height that we want to draw out at for the metro line to sit on. So let's pick out the highest point. Yeah, that's about right, isn't it? So this little mound here is the banking where we'll run our metro line through. We're a little bit close against the border there, but that's fine. You don't have another tile yet, do we? Do we get one next milestone? Yes, we do. Okay, that's fine then. So yeah, having the metro on a raised embankment here, I think it'll look really nice. So we'll see how it goes. But otherwise, I'm going to carry on specifically zoning my new suburb designs here. Just keep continuing to bring population in, and then we'll pop back in once we're ready to introduce that metro line into the area. So we'll be right back. Okay, so we are here at Big Town. This is a really important milestone. We get campuses, metros, intercity buses as well. We'll definitely do an episode on like an intercity bus interchange. That'll be really fun. IT cluster, always a nice time. Bunch of new policies and planning, and of course high density zonings too. That's going to be a wonderful time. But we'll definitely finish off the episode here today by introducing the metro line that will flow through this area. So let's have a look at our metro stops. So the elevated one is the one I'm thinking of using. Now, it's got a pretty loud noise radius on it, but we'd only have to remove these residentials here, which I think we can get away with. So let's plop it in. Trying to find a nice spot for it along the arterial. So I think we're going to take away this park gate and just allow it to be a park entrance. Then we'll bring a road through here. We'll also need to upgrade this into tram road. Right there, that's going to be fine. Then we can place this here. Okay, which is going to contribute to our town centre vibe, I think, as well. I don't think I'm hating that too much. Alright, so in order to get this metro line to sit where I want it to, I'm just going to start trimming away a little bit of this road network here. We won't lose too much zoning. So I do like the look of the elevated metro lines, however, it is quite a high density look, and whilst we're still relatively low density here, let's take away anything that stops this terraforming. I want it to be on like a raised embankment rather than as an elevated line. So we'll see how this idea works out. And we can always adjust the road network around the side of it as well. We will need to pop this next tile also, so let's bang that open now. There we go. And then we can now terraform freely into this square. Very nice indeed. And then let's bring it through. Move up a brush size as well. And I can now just continue to snake this elevated metro line towards the station. Okay, and then again, once we have the metro line in, we can then come back in and grab terraforming, then level the terrain out against that border that the metro line creates. So we'll end up with something that looks a little bit like that. Okay, it's not too bad. So there's a couple of the slopes that are a little bit steep, but I'll refine these during the detailing time lapse. Just to smoothen them out a little bit, but you know, it's already generating layers of transport height, which is always appreciated. And then even from kind of further behind in the suburb now, you know, you're kind of maintaining that gradual climbing height towards that big skyline. And we can see now, even just from here, with the metro stations giving us that slight increase, and so is the mall moderation, a couple of the commercial assets as well. Then as we begin to introduce high density, that will also contribute to that very grand scale crawling height, okay? So it's all going to kind of play into the long run, I think, isn't it? Let's have a look how we want the metro line to come out of here. So if we just come onto our angle, we'll see if we can cross over from this point. I'm hoping we can. Don't think I'm hating it. It of course needs decorating. Fencing and trees along this will look really nice. And where we do need to bring a connection through, we can just break it, turn it into a bridge and put the road underneath. So again, it's going to help contribute and also prepare it to run over this side as well. So I think on second thoughts for this area, I would actually have the metro on this side of the road and relocate the service cluster over to this side. So I think we'll definitely do that during the detailing time lapse. So just bring the metro over to this side instead. And I think the last thing we're going to talk about here today is making a little more fuss and importance out of our kind of key junctions here. I think I'm feeling a little post office action on the corner, and then just flesh this out with a few commercial assets as well. Maybe a couple of 4x4s in here, and perhaps just a small park, nothing serious, maybe another dog park in this corner as well. And then of course some classic green belt. Let's bring some dirt paths through here, and probably nature reserve fence too. Let's follow the curvature of that pathway. And likewise, what we can also do with these corners is bring up just a little a little triangle maybe, with some classic green belt in. Touch of overgrowth in as well, be rude not to. And maybe a couple of beaches and some smaller numbers to complement them as well. Kind of junction detailing like this will help just kind of introduce us into this town, right? I think it certainly will. We'll once we bring our residential patterns out this way anyway. However guys, that does feel like a good place for a detailing time lapse. We've got a tree pattern to bring in front of the keys, which I believe is just a regular kind of green tree that we're using over here. So we'll mimic it on this side whilst we're kind of mirroring the keys as well. I absolutely have some asset refinement to do. Some of these commercial assets really break the vibe. So I'll swing through, plot the growables and pick something a little nicer than these. And then of course bring in that forest that was here as well. We're looking a little bit bare at the minute, so we'll get some of those trees in. Like we've got lying over here. I get some pathways flowing around of course, and then start preparing to feed these arterials up and down. We'll of course get a train station in here as well once we've got trains at 11,000. And then continue to zone up in these residential squares as we get residential demand in. So let's detail up. And we'll be right back. Okay guys, that is going to do it for today. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, a like below is always appreciated. Equal as much if you haven't enjoyed it, please feel free to leave a dislike as well. Cute little riverside suburb here, trying to break away from that grid a little bit more, and it's always nice to see the introduction of the first metro line. And I'm pretty sure once we hit 11k population, we will move back through here and upgrade this metro station into one of the content creator ones, just because they just look a little nicer. They're nicer on the eye than the standard ones. But nice to finally break away from that grid as well using our freeform tool. And it's always nice to centre a unique building with some car parks up against the waterfront. And this place looks splendid at night time as always, so make sure you hang around for the rest of the auto-etage. You guys wouldn't have seen all the detailing. And also thank you for the fantastic support you guys delivered on Far Builders 1 City. Really glad that you guys enjoyed it as much as you did. So thank you so much for all support on that. Yeah, plenty more to come from that too. But otherwise I will shut up and I will leave it there. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.